If you're going to make a mistake on this one, I already know where it's probably going to be. So this question here, it's doing x squared plus 2x, and you're going to evaluate for when x equals -5. So in other words, that -5 is going to go in for x there, and it's going to go in there. Now, most people can get this part correct. 2 times -5. The issue normally crops up when you put the -5 in for the x in the x squared portion. Okay, so basically, if you're going to use a calculator on this, this is where you have to remember parentheses, because I've had a lot of people, they'll go through and they'll type into their calculator, they'll type in -5 squared. So there, the -5 went in for the x squared, and then they'll do plus 2, and then most people know that that's a multiply, so they'll do times and then a -5. Okay, so there is, if your calculator, using the calculator, there is a couple of spots that you can make mistakes. The main one is going to be with the x squared. Some people can make a mistake on this part here and just do 2 minus 5, but most of the time that mistake is going to be made here. This is incorrect, by the way. Don't do it this way. Okay, so, and this is why when you're doing these substitutions for numbers, it is a good idea to use parentheses in them. Okay, so the proper way of doing this, or a different way that would lead to less mistakes, is the -5 replaces the x, and I'm going to put those in parentheses. So anytime I do that substitution, that replace a variable with a number, and I'm going to use my calculator, I'm going to use parentheses on it. And this here, you can type straight into your calculator and you will get it right every time. Okay, so here's what you're telling your calculator, and here's why it's going to be wrong. Here we go. So we have the difference between -5 squared and -5 squared. Okay, well, I say it the exact same way, but these are two different things. Remember, order of operations, exponents come before multiplication. Okay, so for this one here, you're actually going to do the -2, or the square, you're going to do 2 5s being multiplied, and then do the negative of that. So the way this one would look is it would be negative and then 25. It makes -25, but that's wrong. Okay, so that's why these parentheses are important here. So this is saying we have 2 -5s being multiplied. So it's a -5 times a -5. When we do negative times negative, that's going to make a positive. And then 5 times 5 is 25. So for the question up above, it should have been a positive 25, not a -25, okay? Because remember right here what we're doing, this part here, this x squared, it means we're going to have 2 x's being multiplied. Well, what's x? X is -5, so we're going to have 2 -5s being multiplied. So that's why when we type it into our calculator, we do need to remember those parentheses there. Okay, so again, sometimes your calculator will seem to lie to you, but basically what happened is you didn't understand the way the calculator understood what you typed in. So anytime you're doing those substitutions, I do highly recommend using the parentheses, and that way your calculator will understand what you're trying to do. Now, if you're doing a different one, if you're doing like a negative x squared, well, that's going to be different. We're still going to have the negative, and then we're still going to have the whatever x is, and then we'll have the squared there. Okay, so the parentheses, remember, keeps things together. We want the negative with the 5 when we substitute for -5 in for x. Hope this video helped. If it did, do me a favor and click on that like button. If you didn't really enjoy this video, it didn't really scratch where you're itching, please hit the dislike button twice just to make sure.